Check one, check two. From a stormy, wet, cloudy north of Scotland. Welcome to the Academy. My name is G, and as usual, I'm going to give you some things to think about, some things to ponder over, some things to consider, if you will. Beyond me is a window to the world, and out through it I see the giant waves and the windsurfers using nature to their advantage. Normally, I have a bit of a plan as to what I'm going to dive through, but planning takes time. So scrap that. Life is short. Let's just deal with what it is that we have right in front of us. And then, maybe together we'll make some sense of the world and everything that's happening around about us. What's on my mind? I'll tell you what's on my mind. What's on my mind is what's always on my mind. Principles of value, principles of virtue, principles of time. Time, yes, time is of the essence. Life Coaching 101. Tip about the obvious. When making arrangements with workmen, always be precise about the time. Because I guarantee you that if a workman can't be accurate about the time at which they're supposed to arrive, their work has a high probability of being questionable. Now the artist is the artist, right? You know, I worked in music for many years, and getting 4 guys together in a room, right? There had to be some giant nugget of gold at the end of that rainbow, right? You know, getting 4 guys together when there wasn't girls, alcohol, a party, whatever. Getting them together. That was a task, right? Never mind organizing tours and taking bands out on tours. That's a story for another day. So, where do we go from here? Oh yeah, we might get interrupted by a workman arriving late. We might. You never know. Life is a mixture of the predictable and unpredictable, the yin and the yang. That is the holistic principle. That it's bad until it's necessary, and it's only good until it's not good anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. Now, and other things. We'll dive into Twitter comments, then we'll go to Facebook, and we'll get through as many articles as possible. What do you think? That a good idea? Thank you very much for your agreement, or disagreement, as it might be. So, yeah, I just want to mention that There's a bit of a storm going on, as I said, outside. Well, I hope everything stays up and running. Went for a jog in the forest earlier, for rest, and the wind was blowing so strong that when I came out of the forest, I was like running really hard, but not going anywhere. That is the nature of this wind-swept world. If you can imagine me, like teeth clenched, grimacing, arms pumping, and all these people being walked by their dogs, staring at me. What a bizarre scene that was. Anyway, let's get on with it. Bridget Fedesi writes, I don't want to hear government officials or anyone in the scientific community or public health bemoaning the fact that people don't trust experts ever again. You did this to yourselves. Your only currency is trust and good faith, and you've lost it. You see, they've got nothing else left to give. The science is no longer scientific. The government is no longer moral. We are descending down a very long spiral staircase into chaos. That's what's coming next, because chaos is always at the root of what the order would like to see. Oh yeah. Sean Spicer writes, so I guess after banning guns and defunding the police, the next logical step is getting rid of door locks. Yeah, because of course the demos wanted everyone to get rid of the guns, which would have been just diabolically ridiculous considering what's happened, right? So if anyone ever challenges you about the nature of guns, now weapons have existed since the beginning of time, doesn't make them good or bad. However, when someone comes at you and they say, well, guns are dangerous, people shouldn't have guns kill. Well, lots of things do. Pharmaceutical drugs do. Should you ban pharma? Cars kill. Should you ban cars? Knives kill. Should we ban knives? It's not about the implement, it's about the people. And the second thing is that for society to be really level, for there to be a real level playing field, I'm not talking about the so-called equal opportunities where you have to employ 2 men and 2 women and have 2 black people and 2 white people and 2 green people and 2 red people and a couple of old people and a couple of young people. Just employ the best person to do the job. End of story. That solves that problem, right? For society to be truly equal, the vulnerable elements, the weak, the disabled, the younger, the older, the infirm elements of society, they have to have the same power as the muscle of society, right? Because otherwise these people would then be targets. Think about that. Think about the guy stuck in a wheelchair. He's a target for criminals, the criminal mind, right? So the fact that he can strap a pistol under his wheelchair for his protection or her protection, that matters, right? The fact the old woman living alone at home can pack to protect yourself, that matters. That's security. That's safety. Think about it. Think about it. Do you understand what the army is for? Do you understand what the police are for? Do you understand the principles of service and community? Do you get it? So when you see these people out there taking a knee and bowing down. There's only one entity to bow down to, right? Bow down before the one you serve. You're gonna get what you deserve. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you're in a uniform, let's say you're a soldier or you're a policeman, whatever. If you're in a uniform, you should never ever make a political statement while you're in a uniform. Now, if you're a civilian, you're entitled to your opinion and your free speech, hopefully. If not, there's no point in anything, right? But if you're in uniform, you have a role and responsibility. You must never make political statements. Doesn't matter if it's a doctor's uniform or a soldier's uniform. Doesn't matter. You should never make political statements. And to a certain extent, to do that, it alienates people. Because at the root, it's cowardly. That's what it is. It's cowardly. It's dishonorable. It's dishonorable. It doesn't mean you should do things blindly either. It doesn't mean you should do things immorally either. Just make a stand. Make a stand. Be practical about it. Don't be like the president of Minneapolis City Council who says that the city's police department will be dismantled and replaced with a transformative new model of public safety. Yeah, you know what that's going to be, right? You know what that's going to be. That's going to be the robots and the drones and those dog-like machines that they call police dogs, but they're not dogs at all. It's just to make you go, oh, how cute they are. And they look scary right now because they don't have faces, but once they put a face on it, they'll all be cute and cuddly, right? Please keep to the path. Please maintain social distancing. Yeah, it'll probably be a female voice, though. Just remember, no law equals no order. No law equals no order. To work that one out for yourself. Right. You want a controversial opinion? Let me give you a controversial opinion. Pat Condell tweeted, nobody has provided any evidence that GF, you know who I'm talking about, was killed because of racism. We're just assuming it. The 4 arrested officers are all of a different ethnicity. We have no reason to believe they would have treated a white suspect differently. Thank you. You can get off your knees now. Please note that it's just a fact that more unarmed white people were killed by American police than black people over the last year. It's just a fact, right? Yeah, every unnecessary death is a tragedy. What about the kids starving to death in foreign countries right now? What about that because of the economic collapse, huh? You ever think about that? What about the 20,000 old people just died mysteriously in British old people's homes? What about the bodies of kids they're digging up behind kids' care homes, huh? What about that? What about the lost and lonely forgotten? What about the torture that's planned for children in schools? What about the mental mind fuck that's being done on the kids by the government right now, making them believe that it's a good thing to keep distance from friends and to not hug the people that you love? Really? Really? Really, from some mysterious, non-existent danger virus, right? It's the flu, folks. It's the flu. It's a patented flu. It's a worse than normal strain of flu. But it's a flu, right? And why is it patented? Well, I've talked about that before, right? You can't make money from a natural, well, you can make money from a natural product, but you can't patent it and control it. That's the point. Create the virus, then create the antivirus. I mean, it's all those films, right? You know, the older you get, the more you see the programming. The older you get, the more you see the programming. All of the government-sponsored television programs are about doctors, or they're about the police, or they're about society, right? Society, your daily societal download and updates through your soap operas that just wash your brain and cleanse it of any logic at all. Oh yeah, that's how. Think how educational TV could be with the amount of energy that goes into it. Think about how educational and useful and helpful and practical it could be, but it's not. But it's not. It's just designed to confuse you and to sell you stuff you don't need at the same time, right? At the same time. If you're interested, I just published a new article on LinkedIn, Satisfied with Your Actions. It comes from my new book, Leadership Mindset. It's free. No, really, it is. I don't even want your email. I'm not interested. It's free. You can find a copy on all my websites. And if you can't, just send me a message and I'll send you a copy. How's that for a deal? Is that good? You like that? You should. You should, because if you want to change your life, it begins with changing the way that you think. I don't have all the solutions, but I can help point you in the right direction. Oh yeah. For sure, for sure. Meanwhile, um, Panic. Thank you. Thank you, Nate, for that message. You know, despite the fact that I have all of my notifications turned off, they always find a way through, right? They always find a way to drop a message on my screen one way or another. Got to check that out. Got to check that out later. So, but I'm sure Nate is my mate Nate, right? I got a mate called Nate, right? And he's got his head screwed on because it's always, you know, it's always those people living life their own way that they got their head screwed on. Those people within the system, they've been bought and paid for a long period of time. I mean, look at these three. If you're watching the video, look at the three amigos, right? I mean, this is the most. This country is run by three of the most. I don't even have words to describe it. I'm usually able to describe most things, but you know, you would describe a house as sort of shabby, broken, fallen down, dilapidated. That's just what these the three amigos that are hiding behind their NHS fake virus save the world story, with the British flags of patriotism behind them and a rather faded, dull carpet. You know, it's a sign of where we've got to with our leadership. I mean, leadership is about leading by example and taking people forward. And I cannot imagine. I mean, if you saw these three people in a bar, you would sit as far away from them as possible. If you saw these three people on a bus or a train or a plane, you'd sit at the opposite end. Right? They look like they've been. They look like they've spent their lives being dragged backwards through the mud and muck of society. They look broken as people. And this is the leadership. It just broken. Nothing left to offer. And that's the whole point. The whole point is to present us with leaders that can't really lead. That's the point that democracy has got to. You demoralize society by, and these leaders are just constantly presented to us. They're not even so much elected as they are selected, right? What a disgrace. Look, I understand they got partners, probably many. They got family, probably got kids. It's just sad, you know. It's just sad. If you went for a job interview and these three people were interviewing you, you'd walk straight out and go and try and find another company to work for, or you'd start your own business. What a state! What a state the British leadership is in, and it's not better on any side. It looks there's a storm on all fronts, right? And here we are, the poor British people trapped at the epicenter of this hurricane of issues. Frederick Forsyth, famous British author, writes, the coronavirus lockdown may have been unnecessary. Well, Mr. Mystery Writer, huh? Well, now you say that. Where were you when it mattered? Where were you before it started? Where were you months ago? You sad, slow, what do you mean, pathetic individual. Where were you, right? Were you hiding under your bed, perhaps? Were you scared? Yeah, where were you? Where were you when it mattered? Yeah. Oh, well, I've sort of always had my doubts, but I thought I would trust the... Have you not learned? I mean, you write books about this stuff, and you still trust these people. Well, I've got friends who are involved. No, you're protecting your own interests. You're protecting your own career. You're protecting your own ass. Don't pretend that you're the voice of the people. Don't. Yeah. Unless there's something I don't know. Anyway, now that it's safe to be critical, now that the independent people who are out there, who have put their necks on the line, have done that, you can shuffle along behind everybody and pretend you were there all the time, right? Anyway, Frederick Forsyth, as if it matters, says, we lack the figures that would prove it one way or another because they are simply not being released to us, which is itself which in itself is suspicious. And in short, when the final all sources death count is authenticated, which it won't be because it's all fake and made up, and yes, people died and yes, people suffered, but it wasn't as bad as, in fact, it was much worse than it could have been because of the lockdown. Did total lockdown cause more deaths than it prevented? Question mark. And by how much? Question mark. It has already established government policy swerved violently from inadequate to panic-stricken around March the 14th. That's kind of what I said in my preamble, right? This was because the government swallowed hook, line, and sinker the prediction of one man that without just. Do you think they did it? Do you think it wasn't part of a plan? Do you think it wasn't part of a plan that they all agreed upon it? I mean, this is supposed to be, they're supposed to be intelligent. The prediction of one man that without total lockdown there would be a Holocaust and just Frederick, next time, be a leader. Next time, be a leader. That's what matters. That's what makes a difference to the people. That's what the people need. The people need leadership, right? The people need leadership. Meanwhile, in Norway, a prime piece of real estate just disappeared into the sea. Wonder how they got planning permission to build there. See, local government's corrupt everywhere, right? It's absolutely corrupt everywhere. Oh dear. Tucker Carlson's beginning to look like a deer in the headlights because he knows what the hell is going on. And there you go, right? Listen to those, find those who know more than you and learn from them, right? Learn from them. Oh well, here's a thought for you. If government actions killed more people than COVID actions, which they did, why don't we lock down the government? Oh no, you can't have to be, what about the schools? Well, you can see how little schools matter in society anyway at this moment in time. Not that we shouldn't have them, right? I hate having to qualify everything I say because the public are so retarded, because they'd be like, oh my god, he said this and this means that, and yes, you go on, put words in my mouth, why don't you, right? Put words in my mouth because you're not prepared to listen and think. Why don't we just shut down the government? Why don't we let the people make the decisions? I'm pretty sure that we'd be able to fix our borders quickly. I'm pretty sure we'd be able to fix our businesses quickly. Pretty sure, right? Pretty sure. Anyway, if we shut down government, it would only seem fair thing to do because we need to protect the vulnerable people because the vulnerable people have suffered as a result of government policies. It's the way that it is, right? It's the way that it is. If you are following my business series, Made in Murray, brand new interview coming soon. And if you want a tip about making videos for your clips online, check out LUMEN5. What I do is I make little video clips there and then I export them into InShot on my phone and then do everything on my phone. Dun, dun, dun. Because that's the power of the technology. And that's what people don't understand, that technology has kind of taken over. But it does give us the opportunities to play around, to experiment, to record what is happening. See, people have exploded because somebody was killed and it was filmed. Maybe we need to come to a realization that stuff like this has always been going on, but we haven't had an opportunity to record it before. It's not just happened now, right? That's just the excuse. That's just the excuse. We've got to learn, people. We've got to learn that we've been played. We've got to learn that we must have control over our own actions and not be reactive. We've got to learn on this journey of life. We've got to learn. We've got to learn as we journey through life that almost everyone seeks to influence something or somebody somewhere. Yeah. And it tends to be that you're an influencer or you get influenced. And you've got to decide how much of a percentage that is. Because of course even the influencers get influenced, right? Even the influencers get influenced. Like all these people who are running around feeling that they're entitled to something automatically, and don't get tricked by this word of privilege. I don't think that even exists to a certain extent. I've never really seen. I've seen people with things that I don't have. but I don't think they're privileged. I think they lots of the time they're screwed up. So I don't think that's a privilege. It's not a privilege to have everything given to you. It's not a privilege. It's a weight. It's a responsibility. Um, and in life, we're not really entitled to anything beyond a great upbringing given to us by our parents. Beyond that, we're not entitled to anything at all. Life owes you nothing. That is the message. Life owes you nothing. TheIndependent.co.uk says that, or reports that, the restrictions are going to be reviewed and reviewed and reviewed and reviewed, and there's going to be more jobs for government. Basically, that's what they're saying. We've restricted you because of things that we've made up, and now we're going to keep those restrictions in place, and you're going to do everything that we say because we are the leaders and we're the authority and you are the public. This country's been played. I knew this country was being played 25 years ago. I knew it. I felt it. I hadn't worked it all out, but I felt it. Once you get out of the cage, once you get out of the zoo, they can't put you back in. And the whole point of everything in the system, and it's not all bad, but the whole point of everything, because it can help people, the whole point of everything in the system is to make you forget that you're in a cage. It's to make you forget where you are. Just like all those things are put into the pens of the animals in the zoo, right? Sad truth is, if you don't want your sheep to run away, you give them a very large meadow in which to play, right? Mr. Hancock from the British government wrote, to ensure that we are making future decisions about the lockdowns at the right time, the maximum review period will change from 21 to 28 days to give us more time to sort out the shit that we can't sort out anyway. This will allow more decisions to align more closely with another period of time to allow things to be necessary to assess the impact of previous changes on the decisions and the key data with the closely period times running. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter what they say because they're not actually saying anything at all. Right? You just rearrange all the words. Yes. And of course we have to understand the key dates and the key feeds, and we have to look at the R data and the V data and the P data and the G data and the C data, and we have to measure it against the graphs and the previous. They just bamboozle you with absolute rubbish, and the infection rate data is just complete nonsense. Because go and study it for yourself. It's just all made up. Even the stuff no one knows. Well, not they don't know. What I'm saying is they don't know. And if they did know, they could be honest about it. But that's just asking too much, right? Yeah, but governments and secrets and yeah. Criminality is always cloaked in secrecy, especially in a democracy. At the highest levels, that is, right? Did you know that Bill Gates funds at least 10% of the World Health Organization budget? Did you know that? Did you know that? You think that would give him an influence of some kind? You think? You think an influence of some kind? Because it's all about influencing people. It's all about persuasion. It's all about persuading people. Perhaps that's why Healing Not Hatred video put out by the White House got banned everywhere. Oh, it didn't get banned, it just got removed. Memory hold. Right? People didn't see it. But not everyone is blind to what's happening. Not everyone is unoblivious to what is going on. Thank you, Mr. Kanye West, for your whiteout. While everyone else was going back to black, Kanye West was on the attack. Oh yeah, and he did it. More balls in your local sports shop. Well, used to have, because of course that's non-essential, right? Yeah, I was funny. I was thinking today, for some reason, when I was on my jog, about how the gyms are still non-essential, but flower shops are essential. Garden centers are essential. WTF? WTF? Are you serious? Are you serious? And you take this country seriously? Oh, the government is lucky that people have a sense of humor, right? Right. But some of this stuff is serious, right? Some of this stuff is serious. Who was that woman? Who was that woman handing out Molotov cocktails? Attorney Uroy Ram is accused by authorities of driving around New York City, and there's lots of pictures, driving around the New York City riots and passing out incendiary devices for arson attacks. You see, what's been done is that the universities have been infiltrated, and they've taken suggestible people and suggested a whole bunch of things to them through the professors over a long period of time. The education, in many ways, was just indoctrination. It was to filter through the people that they could affect. Yeah. And it was all going swimmingly until a very large trumpet appeared, which caused division and highlighted certain problems. Oh no, but he's not for education. Yeah, so remember that Donald Trump is the man who doubled the funding to black universities and ensured that more businesses were built in the working class districts than in other places. So heaven help anyone who tries to rebuild economies right now. It's an upward climb, it's an upward task, it's an upward struggle. You know what's hard? Hard is realizing that you've got to support someone or something when you don't agree 100% with anyone or everyone or anything. That's hard, right? Hard is making decisions involving large numbers of people. That's hard. Hard is realizing that most people don't make those decisions. Which is why which is why I argue that democracy in its present state has the problem of making everyone everywhere equal in terms of their vote. With this idea that you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Maybe that was true once upon a time, but with mass media, with the nanification of ideas and thoughts through social media, we need to reflect on all of that again. Yeah. Ram is a Pakistani migrant educated at the prestigious Fordham Law, New York City, with a focus on human rights. Yes, that's why she's trying to kill people. Because this is what the university is producing. People who are going to make laws that are just going to cause society to fall apart to a large extent. You watch what happens next. This is just the beginning of the game. You understand? The beginning. This is just the initiation ceremony. Right? Right? James O'Keefe deserves a gold star for breaking the internet with his undercover Antifa video, where he shows that Antifa and Black Lives Matter supporters are training people to take people's eyes out, because eyes are the soft parts and they're easy targets. Right? Can't make this rubbish up. Right. You've been tricked. The black squares were a trick. Or an attempt to see how suggestible people are. Extremely suggestible. And that therein lies the next problem, right? People are suggestible, and the media is suggesting things. A large number of films recently have promoted images of people killing police people, right? And people are going to dress up in clown outfits. They're going to dress up in their crazy uniforms. They're going to dress up in their costumes. And they're going to go out and copy this. Because that's what's been put in their head as good. That's what's been put in their head as the right thing. Yeah. The right thing. People are easily twisted now. Easily twisted. Yeah. Because they've got them when they're young. They get them in the education system. They pull them away from their parents. In the 93% of the world where you can't teach your own children because it's not legal and you go to prison. No joke, you go to prison if you teach your kids. Or you want to teach your kids, or you want to remove your kids from the system. And you think we live in an advanced civilization? You think we live in an advanced society? Oh wow, how fast it's going to turn around. How quickly it's going to turn around. Right? Not long now till we see castles on hills again if things keep continuing. Not long now till the government provides everybody's food for them through the food banks if things continue. Of course, everybody is an exaggeration. But I'm not going to qualify it because I'm going to trust that you're intelligent enough to realize that when I say everybody, there's going to be a small percentage that don't fit into that, right? I trust you. Everything begins with trust. And ends once the trust is broken. Along with trust, we need logic. Logic. Remember all those nurses that were making TikTok videos? All those nurses that we had to protect? All those nurses that write signs saying, "Stay at home, protect us, protect us, protect us." So these are the same nurses that are running around in the streets with their protective uniforms on now, just clapping as protesters walk by, because that's intelligent, right? Caitlin Bennett writes, "Remember those TikTok nurses that cried about how You need to stay at home to save lives. Well, apparently, they only meant certain people. And certain businesses needed to stay at home. Madness. It's a great time to be in the media right now because there's just insanity everywhere. Just take your mobile Android in your pocket device around with you and just you're bound at every corner to find something worth filming in the mad world that we live, right? Because 1 month ago we were arresting small business owners for trying to put food on the table. Now we're not arresting looters and rioters who are burning down small businesses. And I saw yesterday a video where a group of women attacked verbally, a group of school kids who were trying to clean the graffiti off the monuments in London. So these activists who were violent and destroyed stuff and attacked property, they spray painted their messages on London memorials, and these kids came out and they wanted to actually clean the memorials as a sign of respect to the people who died, and they were verbally attacked by women for doing it, for volunteering to clean up the mess that other people had made. Let that sink in. Yeah. Let that sink in to your head. The only way forward, the only way into the future is with a method. And method is important because there's method in everything that's good and in everything that's bad as well, right? Because, the devious plans are not without patterns and some form of logic there. But it's important to have method and not randomness within what we do if we're going to counter the counter culture. What are we even countering anymore? It's all a game. Like my son asked me yesterday, he's like, why are they called liberators when they're not liberating? Because we were watching some old TV program. And the terrorists called themselves the Liberation Front or the Liberation Army or something. And I explained because they always call themselves the opposite of what they do, because most people can't process that within their brains, right? And sometimes it's good at the beginning, but it gets corrupted later on, right? Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it gets taken over, like the Black Panthers got taken over. Good things get corrupted over time. Leaders fade or die off and are replaced, and usually the energy is different when the core or the heart of the organization changes. Just look at what happened to Apple, right? Just look at what happened there. And it's visible in other organizations as well. With the wrong kind of leadership, you are destined to failure. You are destined to have problems, and we create these problems for ourselves. You want to see where I am? If you're watching the video version, that's where I'm at. That's me. That's this place right here. As I scroll through the trawls of information. Yeah, it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game right now. We gotta keep our eye on everything that's going on. We've got to keep our eye on everything that's happening in order to be able to pass judgment or make comment. Wow. Here's me trying to delete stuff on my screen, and it decides to make itself bigger instead. Oh, look at that. Wow. Weird boxes popping up everywhere. I think my computer has been taken over. Wow. You know, stuff happens, right? Stuff happens. Crazy though. Crazy. Where do we go from here? A whole bunch of stuff just popped up on my computer that means I can't see anything or read anything. If I was conspiratorial, I would say that there's a plan. It's interesting. It's interesting how everything works up to a point. Do you know what happened in the first week of me doing these little presentations? It's like I did 4 or 5 presentations and then my computer just wouldn't turn on. I mean, that was like a sort of kind of wake up from my brain, like, oh my God, what is going on? Of course, I just turned on my backup computer because I always have a backup, right? Always have a backup with everything, with everything. You know, I watched a video with Denzel Washington. Not a film, just an interview, and I think he really did tell it as it is when he said that if you don't read the news, you're disinformed. But if you do read the news, you're misinformed. It's hard. You've got to parse through the details and the information. And I don't think that's an original quote from him. I think he's quoting someone else. But you know, truth is truth, no matter who says it, right? Trouble is, we're just more likely to listen to certain people than we are to others, just because of our experience, just because of our history. Yeah. You know, there's nothing happening today that hasn't happened at some point before, previously. If you look around, if you search enough, the chaos, the disorder, the issues, the problems. There's a lot of what's happening today that's just simple repetition. Just simple repetition. And it takes certain people, it takes leaders to remind us of the values that we need to have, of what's important. Sometimes they're political leaders, sometimes they're social leaders, sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're people in our family, sometimes they're people we know, sometimes they're people we meet randomly. Sometimes it's a lady in a red dress. But the truth is always the truth, right? The truth is that all these people throwing fits, all these people breaking things, all these people stealing stuff and burning down their own neighborhoods, which is just ridiculously stupid. Getting violent, abusive, aggressive, screaming, crying, throwing tantrums. That's not how adults solve problems. That's what children do when they can't get what they want, right? That's what children do, and there's so much arrested development. There's There's so many people seeking and needing help, and they always end up turning to the government, and the government pretends to provide. It pretends to provide because the only thing it really provides is dependence. It doesn't really provide independence, just dependence. But people can't see it because of their mindsets, because of their training, because their conceptual boundaries are a terrible limitation. As was said by former CIA Director William Casey, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. Nothing changes. Only the truth. Wherever it is, wherever you can find it. Only the truth will set you free. Do not follow that which you cannot verify is true. And what is the truth? The truth is your experience, your knowledge, where you've been, what you've seen, what you've done, what's happening outside of your window. That's the truth. Forget about the other information. You can't verify that. You can't verify that. Maybe people have good intentions, but the brainwashed people have absolutely no idea that they're brainwashed. Because all prostitutes provide a necessary service to somebody, somewhere, right? Remember that. We all live in service of someone or something. And we have to know what that thing is. A lot of people get lost. A lot of people get lost because they're not sure what it is that they're serving or following. Because they haven't had any real leadership. They haven't seen any real leadership. They don't know what it is. But real leadership is not something to follow. It's just something to have as a guide. Real leadership teaches you to use what you have, where you are, with who you know. It teaches you to trust in yourself. It teaches you to create and be creative. That's what it teaches you. I hope I've given you something to think about today. My name's G. I represent the Academy. Drop me any articles if you want me to have a look at them. If you disagree, let me know. I'm happy to chat. Living is learning. It's what we all have to do. There's no choice. Only one way to go. So from a wet, wild and windswept north of Scotland, I wish you a fantastic day wherever you are. Make the best of everything going on around you. And as always, don't forget to tell the ones you love that you love them. Take care.